Okay, today we're taking a deep dive into a really powerful story in Genesis. We're looking specifically at chapter 37.
That's right. And our goal really is just to unpack what's happening in this chapter, the events, the people involved.
And maybe pull out some of those details in the source text that you might miss on a quick read.
Exactly.
Right.
Because this chapter, it introduces Joseph, his family. Well, his complicated family.
Yeah, definitely complicated. And it really kicks off this whole huge narrative arc. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, so right at the start, we find Jacob. He's living in Canaan, where his father Isaac had lived.
And the text immediately zooms in on Joseph. He's 17.
17 years old, yeah, a teenager. And he's out tending the flocks.
And it mentions he's with his half-brothers, right? The sons of Bilhah and Zilpah.
And what's one of the first things we learn he does?
Yeah. He brings their father, Jacob, who's also called Israel in the text, a bad report about them.
A bad report. That definitely feels loaded right from the start.
It does. It sets a certain tone. And then the very next verse gives us, well, maybe the key piece of information for understanding everything that follows.
Which is?
That Israel, Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his other sons.
And the reason given is pretty straightforward.
Right.
Because he was the son born to him in his old age.
The classic favored child situation. And Jacob isn't exactly subtle about it.
No, not at all. The source says he made Joseph this special robe, sometimes translated as richly ornamented or coat of many colors.
Right. It wasn't just practical clothing. It was like a walking billboard saying, I'm the favorite.
Absolutely. It's a symbol, a status symbol within the family and the brothers. They see this.
And how do they react? The text is really blunt here.
It is. It says when they saw this clear favoritism, they hated him.
And more than that, it says they could not speak a kind word to him.
That phrase is powerful, isn't it? It's not just resentment. It's like the favoritism completely broke down even basic civility between them.
So you've got this act of hatred just simmering there. And then Joseph starts having dreams.
And these aren't exactly humble dreams either.
No. He tells the first one to his brothers. They're all out binding sheaves of grain, and suddenly his sheaf stands up.
And all their sheaves gather round and bow down to his sheaf.
You can imagine how that went down.
Oh, yeah. The brothers get it immediately. Their response is basically, what? Are you saying you're going to rule over us? You're going to be our king.
Exactly. And the text explicitly says they hated him even more because of this dream and the fact that he told them about it.
But he doesn't learn his lesson, does he?
Nope. He has another dream. And this time he tells it to his brothers and his father.
This one's even grander. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars are bowing down to him.
Now this time, even Jacob reacts. His father actually rebukes him.
Right. He says something like, what kind of dream is this? Are your mother and I and your brothers actually going to come and bow down to the ground before you?
So even Dad's pushing back a bit, but there's a little detail there about Jacob.
Yes. While the brothers' hatred just intensifies, the text notes that Jacob, after rebuking him, kept the matter in mind.
Interesting. So he didn't just dismiss it completely. It stuck with him.
It seems so. It adds another layer to Jacob's perspective.
Okay, so recap. We have intense favoritism, deep-seated hatred from the brothers, and now these really provocative dreams from Joseph about his own dominance. The family dynamic is volatile.
Extremely volatile.
Yeah.
Which makes Jacob's next decision seem, well, a bit surprising.
Yeah, he sends Joseph out to check on his brothers, the same brothers who hate him.
They're grazing the flocks near Shechem, quite a distance away. Sending the favorite son, the dreamer, out alone to them. It feels risky.
It really does. So Joseph heads out from the Valley of Hebron. He gets to Shechem but can't find them.
He's apparently wandering around, and a man finds him.
Yeah.
Joseph asks about his brothers.
And the man tells him they've moved on to Dothan.
So Joseph continues on to Dothan, and as he's approaching, still some way off, his brothers see him coming.
And their reaction is immediate and chilling.
Before he even reaches them, the text says they plotted to kill him.
Wow. So it escalates right from hatred to plotting murder. They even mock him, right? Here comes that dreamer.
Their plan is laid out. Let's kill him, throw him into one of these cisterns, and then we'll tell Dad some wild animal got him.
And they explicitly say, then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. They want to nullify those dreams.
It's incredibly brutal. But then, one brother speaks up. Reuben.
Right, Reuben. He tries to intervene. He says, let's not take his life.
He suggests a different approach. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him yourselves.
And the text gives us Reuben's hidden motive here, which is crucial.
Yeah, it reveals that Reuben was planning to come back later, secretly pull Joseph out, and take him back to his father.
So rescue plan, but the others don't know that. They agree to Reuben's idea, maybe it feels less direct.
So when Joseph finally arrives, completely unaware of this plotting.
The first thing they do is grab him and strip off that robe, the
Yeah.
symbol of his father's favoritism.
The very thing that fueled so much of their hatred. And then they throw him into the cistern.
And the text points out a specific detail about the cistern.
Yes, it says the cistern was empty, there was no water in it.
That's important, isn't it? If there'd been water, he might have drowned immediately.
Exactly. It leaves him alive, vulnerable, but alive. It perhaps makes the brothers feel slightly less directly responsible for his death than if they'd, say, stabbed him. Abandonment versus active killing.
Still horrific. And then what happens next is almost surreal.
They've just thrown their brother into a pit to die, and they sit down to eat a meal.
Just sit down to eat. It's quite a detail.
And as they're eating, they look up and they see a caravan approaching.
A caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, heading down towards Egypt.
And they're carrying trade goods, spices, balm, myrrh, valuable stuff.
And this gives Judah an idea. Another brother steps up.
Right. Judah says, basically, look, what do we actually gain if we kill our brother and then have to cover it up?
Why don't we sell him to these Ishmaelites instead? Let's not lay our hands on him.
And he adds that justification. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood.
A bit ironic considering they're selling him into slavery, but okay.
The brothers agree to Judah's plan. It's framed as a better alternative than murder, and maybe they make some money.
So the text mentions Midianite merchants passing by and clarifies that they pulled Joseph out of the cistern.
Right. There's a bit of complexity there. Midianites and Ishmaelites, possibly related groups or just part of the same caravan trade network.
And they sell Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver.
20 shekels, which was about the going price for a slave at that time, historians think.
And the Ishmaelites take him off towards Egypt. Joseph's fate takes another sharp turn.
Meanwhile, Reuben comes back. Remember, he had planned to rescue Joseph.
He wasn't there for the meal or the sale, apparently. He goes to the cistern.
And Joseph isn't there. He's gone.
His reaction is one of pure distress. He tears his clothes.
He goes back to his brothers and says, the boy isn't there, what am I going to do? His plan is ruined, and Joseph is gone.
But the other brothers, they need to complete their original cover story for Jacob.
Yes. So they take Joseph's robe, that significant robe,
They slaughter a goat, and they dip the robe in the goat's blood.
making it look convincingly like he was attacked by an animal.
Then they take this bloody robe back home to their father, Jacob.
And they present it to him with this sort of feigned innocence. We found this. Examine it, see if it's your son's robe or not.
Oh, that's cold, putting it on Jacob like that.
And Jacob, of course, he recognizes it instantly.
His reaction is just complete devastation.
He cries out, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him." Joseph has surely been torn to pieces. He fully believes their lie.
And his grief is described as overwhelming. He tears his own clothes, puts on sackcloth, a sign of deep mourning.
He mourns for Joseph for many, many days. The text says his sons and daughters tried to comfort him.
But he refuses all comfort. He says he'll go down to the grave mourning for his son. He just weeps and weeps.
It's profound grief, built entirely on a terrible deception by his own children.
And while all this is happening back home, the chapter gives us one final crucial piece of information.
Right. It tells us what actually happened to Joseph next.
Meanwhile, the text says, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt.
Specifically to Potiphar, who was described as one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard.
So, wow, what a journey in just one chapter. From favored son with big dreams,
Hated by his brothers, betrayed, thrown in a pit,
sold into slavery, presumed dead by his heartbroken father.
and ending up in Egypt, in the household of a high-ranking Egyptian official.
It's an absolutely shocking turn of events by the chapter's end. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
Definitely. You have this immense weight of deception and grief back in Canaan.
And then Joseph, completely removed from that, starting this new, totally unforeseen life in Egypt. A slave, yes, but connected to power through Potiphar.
It makes you wonder, based just on this text, how these awful circumstances, things born out of pure malice and betrayal,
How they can completely redirect a life, put someone on a path no one, least of all Joseph himself, could ever have predicted. What does that suggest about fate or resilience or maybe even unseen plans unfolding?
It certainly leaves you hanging, eager to know what could possibly happen next, both for Joseph in Egypt and for the family back home, living with that lie.